The nation's best-loved chefs are hitting the road.
This is ridiculous!
To compete in some traditional country shows.
And I'm hoping to win one of those rosettes.
On the way, they'll meet some of Britain's best local food producers.
Why would you ever eat a cupcake when you have parking?
Before competing head-to-head with each other. And the great British public.
I thought the competition was big enough.
Our chefs are at the mercy of the harshest food critics in the land, the beady-eyed country show judges.
We don't like odd ones.
It's a competition and I'm taking it very seriously.
Hold on to your aprons, it's Country Show Cook-Off. This week, top chefs Theo, Randall and Rachel Allen hit the road from Bute to Ludlow.
Come on, baby. Come on.
So far, Theo's got nil point in their chefing showdown as his baking efforts crumbled in the quiche cook-off.
I won nothing.
But our queen baker, Rachel, swiped a first-place prize in Bute. Today, the pair's culinary road trip brings them tootling along, 100 miles northeast of yesterday's cook-off in the Isle of Bute, to a country show in the Perthshire town of Aberfeldy.
Oh, this is beautiful.
First made famous by Scotland's national poet Robert Burns, it's home to Perthshire's highest mountain and Scotland's longest river. But have our chefs come prepared?
I haven't got my kilt.
I was looking forward to seeing your legs. Kilt or not, they'll be cooking up a storm to compete at the Aberfeldy and Breadalbin Agricultural Show, known by the locals as the Aberfeldy Show. It has a traditional Scottish twist and has been at the heart of the community for the last 66 years. And our professional chefs have been given special permission to enter in the single chocolate sponge with butter icing category against the titans of baking, the Scottish Women's Rural Institute.
I'm entering baking, preserves, knitting and sewing today.
Dundee cake,
rum truffles,
chocolate sponge,
cupcakes, which I love,
bread,
peppermint creams,
wholemeal scones,
a toffee apple,
3 fruit marmalade and raspberry jam.
I think that's about it.
They may not be professional chefs, but between them, they've been perfecting homemade recipes for decades.
Competition's very fierce and everybody is excellent bakers.
Competition here at the Aberfeldy show couldn't be steeper. And they're judged by some pretty tough cookies like Kate Imlay and Jeannie Black. But what do they want from a sponge?
Chocolate sponges are like fluffy thing and something that tastes the best and looks the best.
Any tips for our chefs, girls?
Just read the schedule. If they're not meeting the requirements, they do have to be disqualified.
As Rachel's the queen of cake making, author of best-selling baking books and cooking teacher at the world-famous Ballymaloe Cookery School, if she doesn't do well in this cook-off, there's something seriously wrong.
That smells good.
And even though chef and restaurant owner Theo specialises in Italian cuisine, surely he'll find this challenge a piece of cake. Our chefs are in such an amazing part of Scotland. Here, the peaty uplands allows ling heather to thrive. So they're going to see where this natural resource becomes dripping deliciousness at Perthshire's prized Heather Hills Honey Farm, founded in 1945. Home to 1,300 beehives, swarming with 52 million honeybees. The farm's a family affair. Mark Noonan is one of 2 brothers who's been making the award-winning champagne of honeys for over 12 years.
And this is what's so special about Scotland, all this heather.
And this is what the bees feed off.
Yes, there's very little choice.
That's amazing. So it's actually true heather honey. Can we have a look?
This may be one small step for a seasoned beekeeper, but it's one giant leap for chef kind. Bees can get angry when disturbed, so smoke's used to calm them down.
Now you can hear them already.
Wow. That's a full hive.
Hello, clever little bees.
And there we have some honey on top there. And they seal it off with wax.
It's
They have a
extraordinary.
different stomach for everything. One stomach makes the wax, one stomach produces honey.
Makes you realise how precious honey is.
And this is the main hive down here. That's where the queen lays the eggs. She's about 1.5 times the size of an ordinary bee.
Okay.
Some of ours are marked for ease of finding her.
Ah, there! Oh my goodness, with the blue dot.
Yeah.
Wow.
There can only be one queen bee per hive.
There can only be.
If there is more than one queen, then there's either a battle or one has to leave.
I hope you two are as determined in your cook-off.
So there we are. We can take that. Just shake them off.
I don't want to hurt them.
You just crushed one there.
Oh, sorry. Whoops.
Don't worry, no bees. Okay, one bee was slightly hurt during the making of this honey, but it's fine now. And in the kitchen of the nearby and stunning Dalmunsey Castle, Mark's going to show our chefs how the scrummy honey can beautifully enhance the dessert Clannican.
I'm going to show you a very simple traditional Scottish recipe. The Clannican is normally eaten at harvest time in the old days, but now I think it's become a lot more popular for weddings and other occasions.
Mark's already whipped some double cream.
We're going to fold in some beautiful Scottish berries from down the hill in Blairgowrie.
Which are the best in the world, Scottish raspberry.
If you could chop some of the hazelnuts, it does give it a bit of crunch. Keep the raspberries whole if you can. We don't want any juice to make it slushy.
Okay.
And the great thing about this recipe is you can add as much of each ingredient as you want. Now, if you want to add some of that oatmeal.
Okay. So this toasted for what, about 5-10 minutes?
5-10 minutes.
In the
just
oven.
Golden brown, don't burn it.
Oh, yum.
Just going to add the nuts, that's fine.
And now the piece de resistance, a few tablespoons of some of that divine honey.
And that's going to help bind it all together and give it that extra zing. And heather honey and raspberries are just a fantastic combination.
Oh no, it's not finished yet.
Theo's dying to add some whiskey.
Yeah. Should we just test it and see if it's okay?
When in Scotland.
Cheers.
Cheers. Slunja.
Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, wow, that's lovely. Oh, that'll be...
Steady on, we need sober chefs.
It's almost like a Scottish eat and mess.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little bit generous.
That's mine. So your decoration goes on top.
Yeah, moment of truth. Oh my god. That's so good.
Looks delicious and all. But you both have a single chocolate sponge with butter icing to make for tomorrow's show in Aberfeldy. There may not be written rules, but the show schedule clearly states the category. Just hope our chefs have read it carefully.
And is yours a traditional Victoria sponge with cocoa in it?
No, I thought about doing that, but I just felt that that's what everyone else is going to be doing.
That's exactly what I thought.
Really? Yeah. And I thought I should do something that sort of stands out. My only concern is it might just be a little bit too wacky and I'm not doing as I'm told.
Yeah, it's not making traditional sponge in a sponge category. Interesting tactic, but I'm not sure the judges will appreciate it.
This is great.
Just took you over the edge, Theo, please.
Wow.
That is spectacular. What a day to be cooking.
Well, a place to be cooking.
Exactly.
It may be a beautiful spot, but there is the added pressure of cooking al fresco and from the quaint but fully functional kitchen of their vintage van. Now, as these two are entering a chocolate sponge making category, you, me and tomorrow's SWRI judges would imagine a light, airy classic. Yes, I'm sure. But what exactly does our foodie peer have in mind?
I'm slightly, going off-piste a little bit. Mine isn't a traditional sponge. It's not a chocolate sponge. It's actually quite a rich chocolate cake.
The rules say make a sponge.
I'm thinking that if I add just a subtle little drop of Scotch whiskey, the judges might like that. This might even give me a little edge over Theo's cake. I wonder if he's thought of that.
As Mr. Randall's already trailing behind in the competition, how's he going to ensure a triumph?
The pressure's on because Rachel's obviously a very good baker. The sponge cake I'm making is more of a kind of batter cake. It's quite kind of wet. The only problem is, will it be classed as a sponge cake?
Oh, no, not you as well.
I'm adding a bit of coffee. When they eat it, it's going to be really moreish and delicious. It might make the judges sort of notice a bit more. A few risky moves here, but let's just hope it works.
So do I, Theo. It's time to dust off the oven gloves and get cooking. Baking aficionado Rachel's up first, and as the category is a single chocolate sponge with butter icing, the traditional recipe is to blend butter with sugar, whisk eggs and sieve flour, right? Let's see what she's going to do.
This has got to be the most stunning location I've ever cooked. Absolutely amazing. But the heat is incredible.
Oh, better get a wiggle on then.
I've got a bain-marie here, a saucepan of simmering water, over which I'm going to place this bowl and put in the butter. I've got 210 grams of butter. It's melting already. And 250 grams of caster sugar. 250 grams of dark chocolate. It's so rich, it's almost like a chocolate torte.
Oh, so maybe not a sponge then. It's your reputation as a world-class baker, Rachel.
Oops. Everything's had a bit of a tilt. And it's just suddenly melting very quickly now. But with the heat coming from under it and this amazingly, apparently unusually hot sun, I think the weather must just be like this all the time and they don't let on. It's just incredible. I have just a quick little soaking up of some sun while my chocolate and my butter melts. It smells good. If you want to add other flavours, you can. You could add a little cinnamon or some chilli, but I think that's going really too far off-piste for this competition. I think I'm taking enough risk as it is by not making a classic sponge.
Yes, I quite agree.
I'm now going to add 5 eggs. Oh, double yolk. Maybe that's lucky. Anyone says I can't make a cake, it just never works out. Well, this is the one to try. So I'm using just 75 grams of ground almonds. I could use flour, but I love what ground almonds bring to a cake. They bring a certain richness, obviously a nuttiness, and really good moistness from the oils in the nuts.
And no flour actually makes this cake gluten-free.
Yum, yum.
Hey presto, into the oven at 160 degrees for 45 minutes should do the trick nicely. Now, time for Rachel to make her butter icing.
Okay, so while the cake is cooking in the oven, I'm going to make the chocolate glaze very quickly.
Aye? It says in the rules, butter icing.
Oh my goodness, the chocolate has just completely melted in the sun. Pour your chocolate in. That's how hot it is here in Scotland.
Don't knock a good thing. Into the 200 grams of dark chocolate goes 75 grams of butter.
Hope that'll be okay for a butter icing, because there is butter in it, so technically it is a butter icing.
Hope the SWRI agree, but surely Rachel knows what she's doing deviating from the show schedule.
Some milk, but I want to make up some of the liquid measurement with my secret ingredient, some local whiskey. Not too much, I don't want it to be overpowering, I want it to be quite subtle, refined.
Where's the rest gone? I like your style.
Give it a little taste, very important. Need a little bit more. Tiny bit more? I think, yeah.
Good plan. Get the judges tipsy.
Okay, that's the glaze ready.
While Rachel's been building up a sweat, Theo's been keeping his cool.
I wonder if you know there's a secret ingredient in there.
A wee dram of whiskey.
Did you guess?
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Oh, it's just, that just goes off. All right then.
Not exactly springing into action, Mr. Randall's up. He's also gone all chefy with his recipe.
It's absolutely baking here. I don't even need the oven. Now, for the cake, we need to melt 250 grams of really good 70% chocolate, 250 grams of unsalted butter, and then our secret ingredient, coffee. So that's all stirred together.
Unlike Rachel's lack of flour, Theo's using 150 grams each of plain and self-raising.
We're on a hill here, keep sliding back.
You parked the van.
Add a half teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, loads of cocoa. This is going to be really chocolatey. 500 grams of sugar. So there's quite a lot of ingredients in this recipe. I think Rachel's is a little simpler, so I may live to regret it. Okay, so 4 eggs. Whoops, bit of eggshell. We don't want that. Okay, then mix those all together. So what we're going to do is going to make a little well here, like we're making cement.
Tantalising. Into the dry mix, he juices it up with the eggs, sunflower oil, and 125 mils of milk.
This essentially is a batter cake, so it's going to be quite a wet cake.
So, not a light, airy sponge from you either then. Why is that?
In goes the chocolate, and I'm hoping the judge is going to go, core. That chocolate cake with the coffee